welcome to my channel. Did you know that over 60% of persons who apply for Canadian visas are rejected? And maybe you're watching this video and you are among that 60%. Yes, it is definitely something that happens, and in this video I'm gonna share some tips and some strategies that you're able to use to ensure that your visiting visa is approved, if not this year, in 2025 and beyond. So that many applicants struggle with the complex, what they view as a complex application process, and knowing what documents to submit, what photographs to upload, what to include in the letters that they write, and all these different aspects of the application. And I want to simplify some of those things and also debunk some of the myths that are associated with the application process as well. The first piece is your passport. And listen to me now. If your passport is about to expire, like you have 6 months left on your passport or even 9 months, please go ahead and renew your passport before you submit your application. Because how the Canadian immigration system works, say you've done your biometrics, which is your fingerprint and your photograph, that lasts on the system for 10 years. So that say that you have a fresh set of biometrics that is done. If you go in and you apply with a visa that only has 1 year left on it, not a visa, sorry. If you go in and you apply with a passport that has 1 year left on it, you know what's gonna happen? If you get approved, you'll be only given a 1 year visa, whether that is multiple entry or single entry, whatever it is, you'll be only given that for 1 year, because the length of time that you're given is tied not only to your biometrics, but it's also tied to your passport's expiry date. So now that we have the passport situation sorted, right? You have a passport, it has a good amount of years on it. Now let's talk about the application forms. So application forms are dependent on which of the versions of the applications you're using. They have the old system and they have the new system. I am definitely a fan of the new system, right? So if you're using the new system, there's not necessarily a particular application form that you would need to complete, but you would just log into the portal, and I can do a whole separate video on how you log in and how you fill out the different columns and fields and so forth that are there, right? So you would log into the portal and you will just enter your details on there. There is no IMM 5257, or they have some other forms that you would complete if you're using the old version of the portal, right? Another important piece of the process is proof of funds. So you need to show the government that you can afford this trip that you want to take to Canada, right? And there isn't necessarily a specific amount that I can just put out there to say, okay, you need to have 2,000 Canadian or you need to have 4,000 Canadian or so forth. No, that's not something that I'm able to do, because it's dependent on each person's individual situation, whether you're applying by yourself, you're applying with your spouse, or you're applying with your whole family, right? The proof of fund requirement is going to change depending on what your particular situation is. So let's say you're a single person, you're just coming by yourself. A good place to start is to calculate what the cost is for your round trip airfare. That's your flight to come to Canada and your flight to get back to your home country. So let's say that is 2,000 Canadian when you convert your currency. And then considering the fact that, say, you don't know anyone here and you'll be staying at a hotel and you're staying for 2 weeks, what is the cost to stay at that hotel? Say the cost is 1,500 Canadian when you do the calculation. Right now we're up to 3,500 Canadian. That's the airfare and also your accommodation. We haven't spoken about the fact that you need to buy food, the fact that you're traveling to a new country. Naturally, you're going to do some sort of shopping, right? Not saying you're going on a shopping spree now, but you're going to do some sort of shopping. So you have to account for that. So we're at 3,500. Let's put another 1,000 in to say you're gonna do shopping, you're gonna eat, and any other expenses that you may incur while you're here. Say you need to take a taxi, or you need to take a Uber, or I don't know, you need to buy a prescription glasses, whatever it is that you need to do, then you take that into consideration in that additional $1,000. So now we're at 4,500, right? So if you're gonna say, okay, I'm gonna have $4,500 available for my stay, not just writing that down is not sufficient. You need to be able to show this. So you can show it in different ways. Say you have an investment account that you're able to pull funds from easily. You can show that. If it's a case where you have a regular bank account, whether it be checking, savings, and you're able to show your balance with the $4,500 even, or if you have more, then great. But you need to be able to show to the government that you have the funds that you stated on your application that you do, and also that you are gainfully employed, or you have a business that is able to supply you with the funds that you need, right? It could even be a case where, say you're a younger person, it's your mom or your dad or your aunt that's sponsoring the trip. They're able to show their bank statement as well. So it's not just limited to you specifically as the individual showing the statement, but someone else that's sponsoring the trip is able to show their statement as well. Let's talk about your travel history, right? So if you've traveled to the United States already, or you've traveled to some other Caribbean islands within the last 5 years, then you would be required to tell the government about that, and there will be a place provided for you to be able to outline where you traveled to, the date that you went to this place, and the date that you came back, so it shows how long you stayed, because naturally or usually you're allowed to spend up to 6 months in a country. So if it's a case where you overstayed in the US and then you're applying to Canada, that is going to be a red flag, right? So they will ask you to show outline your travel history, to show the other places that you've been to and how long you spent in these different places. Also, if you have never traveled before, that is fine too. It would just be a case where these spots would be blank for you. So not having a travel history is definitely not a deal breaker. It just means that it's less work for you. You don't have anything to enter into these slots, so you'll just move on to the next part of the application. And this piece, it's done separately and then uploaded. And the piece that I'm referring to is your invitation letter or your letter of intent. And I said or because I know that a lot of persons believe that you have to have an invitation letter to come to Canada, meaning someone here has to write a letter to say, hey, Mary Jane, I am inviting you to come to Canada to spend time with me, etc., etc. No, that is not the case. You are not required to have an invitation letter, because Canada, just like anywhere else, you don't have to know somebody here to come. You can literally visit here as a tourist and stay in a hotel or stay in an Airbnb. It's definitely a nice to have. If you have somebody here and your family is inviting you, then great. But if you want to come and visit and see the sights, eat the food, go to different this and that and here and there, you definitely don't need a letter to do so. You would just need to write a letter of intent to say, my name is so and so, I work at so and so, and I would like to visit Canada to do so and so on so and so date, right? So definitely having an invitation letter, that's someone here that you know inviting you, family or friend, it doesn't matter. Or writing a letter of intent to say that you'd like to visit Canada as a tourist for such and such reason is definitely the next part. And you would write this letter in Microsoft Word, Google Docs, wherever it is, and then you would sign it or have the person sign the letter, and then you'll be given the opportunity at the end to upload this letter as part of your application. I know this part, a lot of persons talk about it, especially even with the US process. This is a really big thing, and it's ties to your country. I mean rope where tie you down. No, I mean like assets in your home country, whether you have a home that's yours or you have a piece of land that's yours, that's important. Or if you have a job that you've been in, say you've been in a job for 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, whatever that looks like, these are ties to your home country. Children are also ties, or a child is a tie to your home country, meaning that this is a strong enough reason where if we say yes to you coming to Canada, we are feeling a little bit more rest assured that you will return to your child or return to your children or return to your job after the 2 weeks or the month is over that you wanted to stay and visit the country, right? So having some sort of ties to your country and highlighting that in your application is definitely very important, because the worst thing that can happen is that your application gets rejected because the officer said, oh, we don't believe that you have strong enough ties to your country. And you say, but wait, want to me 5 kids, want to me work. No, but you do not stress that enough in your letter of intent to come to say, hey, these are my kids, I live with them, I live with my partner, I take care of my grandmother, I take care of my grandfather. Whatever it is that is your unique situation, you want to highlight that in the letter to ensure that the officer reading it, because the officer is somebody like me and you, so they're going to read it and pick sense out of nonsense and then make their decisions based on the letter and all the other supporting documents that you have provided to them. So definitely making it clear the ties that you have to your home country is definitely going to be important and play a very vital role in your visa being rejected or approved. And we are definitely looking for approval, so you definitely want to ensure that you're highlighting those points in the letter that you'll be providing to immigration. You also have the option, and this is a personal choice or personal preference. For me, I prefer online, but I know that some persons would do a paper application, and this is going online, printing out all the required forms, the same forms that would be in the old portal. These are the forms that you would have printed. You would fill them in with paper, sign them, and then you would submit that to the designated address in Jamaica, in Barbados, wherever in the world you are. You would submit those via the mail, and then they would be reviewed and you would receive a response from the government. And in terms of the processing time, and naturally the paper application is going to take a little bit longer in comparison to the online application, but the choice is definitely there. If it's a case where you don't wish to complete this online for whatever reason, you don't have a computer or you're not too tech savvy, you do have the option to have this done via paper. Let's talk about the fees involved. So the cost for a Canadian visa application as it stands right now is 100 Canadian dollars, and I'm gonna put the Jamaican equivalent as of today down below so you're able to see that. And if you're living somewhere else, you're able to do the conversion to see what that equates to in your local currency, right? And if it's a case where you're required to do biometrics because you've not done this before, as I said in the onset of the video, your biometrics last for 10 years. So if this is your first time, then you would be required to submit your biometrics. It's $85 Canadian for your biometrics. So right now we're at $185 for the application alone, right? And those are the fees that would be involved, and you're able to pay this via any major debit or credit card. So the options are definitely there that you're able to utilize to pay for your application. For providing your biometrics, if you're in Jamaica, there are two places that you can provide your biometrics, and your biometrics is basically just your fingerprint and your photograph that will be taken. You can have this done in Montego Bay. I'm going to have the address up here, or you can have it done in Kingston. Address is listed above, so you're able to see the two places that you're able to have your biometrics done. And please bear in mind, appointments are required, so you have to visit the website. I'm going to have the website link here so you're able to have a look at it, and you'll be required to visit the website to book your appointment to have your fingerprints and your photograph taken. But you can't just do this willy-nilly. It's after you've submitted your application, you'll receive a letter from immigration. Say you applied via online, you'll receive a letter, a notice to say, hey, you need to go do your biometrics and you have until such and such time to do your biometrics. And it's important to note that your application, they don't start processing your application until your biometrics are done. So please don't dilly-dally. You need to, as soon as you get it, try to do it as soon as possible, because the faster your application can start processing, the faster the application can be done. And that takes me to my next point, which is the wait time or the processing time, right? And this differs based on where you are applying from, right? And since we're on the topic of Jamaica, right now as it stands, it's 195 days on average. That's how long it takes you to receive a response from immigration to say yay or nay. And we're definitely looking for a yay, but it takes 195 days for you to get a response from them. So after you submit, you'll definitely be doing some waiting before you get that decision back. I know that some persons apply. I've helped persons to apply who have gotten through in a much faster time, but it's definitely just a game of chance in essence, where you may get lucky and get yours processed within a short period of time. But it's important to bear that in mind. And when you're saying when you'd like to visit Canada, definitely take that into consideration, that this is where the processing time is. And then we get to the good part. This is where you get a response back from immigration with the decision that they've made. Usually what you receive is a letter, and I'll put an example here, to say that we need you need to send us your passport to finalize your application. But in essence, it's an approval, because that's the only reason that they're requesting your passport, and is for it to be stamped. So once you receive that letter, then you would need to go back to that same place that you did your biometrics or your fingerprint to have your passport dropped off. For dropping off your passport, there is no appointment that's required, but you do need to go between a particular time, and it's available on their website. That same letter that they sent to you to say, hey, this and this, you need to print that letter and take it with you when you're going to that office. The next step is you plan your travel, right? And there's a video up on my channel. I'm gonna have the link here, where you can go and check out some tips before you travel that you can definitely use to help you when you're ready to pack up your suitcase, pack up all your kunumuna, your accoutrements them, and take it with you. So I definitely hope that you found these steps to be helpful. You can definitely reach out to me in the comments, reach out to me via email if you need any further clarification on anything that I have shared. And of course, share your experience. What was your experience applying? Did you apply on your own? Did you utilize the help of an immigration representative? Let me know. I love to hear your thoughts and what your process was like. So definitely remember to like, share, and subscribe. I look forward to connecting with you guys again. Talk soon. Bye.